As we proceed in this Navaratri and we look at the new ways of building careers for ourselves, and we look at the young force that is willing to get into the market, we are talking about almost 1 million people qualifying to be entering into the workforce every month. And such a huge number always requires somebody to manage them. And that typical function is always popularly known as the human resources. Today, we have a very special guest who is not only understanding what is the challenges that these people are facing, but who is at the very center of managing these particular challenges, whether in terms of recruiting them, maintaining them, or even managing their health during the challenges that we are facing. And moreover, she has recently launched something very powerful, that is realizing the power of connection. It's an absolute privilege for us to have Gauri Das joining us today. Gauri, thank you so much for taking out time and joining me for this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Charu, for inviting me and this whole concept. I really loved it and I'm looking forward to an amazing conversation.
Gauri, we would first like to understand what has been your journey.
Yeah, thanks for taking me to yesteryears. I started my journey from a small village in Madhya Pradesh. This is my seventh state. I am in Maharashtra, Mumbai currently, and this is seventh state. And I was born in UP and then stayed in multiple states. So this place where I grew up, it was a small village and lush green place. The place where we used to stay had you name the tree and you would have it kind. There were mountains and we will go trekking every single evening. And I was youngest amongst three siblings, so the kind of pampering and love so it was overall a very very happy childhood, and I really cherish those memories even today. But as we say, life does not give you 100% everything. So on flip side of this place did not have good schools. And there was just one school and it was vernacular mediums and there were no opportunities for personality development in a small village school. And I was anyways a very shy and timid child. So there was a guest at home. I would hide behind my mom and I would not leave her until guest leaves the door. So this is how I was growing up, and the school was like just one classroom and everybody sits together, whether it is standard first or standard eight. That was the limit of the school. So, but I was academically inclined, and thanks to support from my parents, I could crack engineering entrance test, and I went to second ranking institute in the state, and that was a shock. The moment I entered the college, it was like meeting bright young students who were better than me in every aspect. And it had people from all across the globe. The students were coming from multiple countries, so everybody would talk in English, and they were very, very smart. And here I was, I had no courage even to say yes, madam, to the roll call. So I would just raise my hand and leave it there, not even trying to open my mouth because I knew people will laugh at me. English nahi aati thi. So this is how I started, and then there were multiple rejections because of poor communication skills. Somehow academically good, so I could do well in engineering. And as the luck would have it, I started my career from Guwahati, Assam. And this was not the place where you would dream of creating your career or starting your career. But then things started from there. I somehow got a job there. I started things from there. And then we went to Ahmedabad. Again, not a very progressive state when I talk about early 2000s in terms of jobs. It is a very prosperous and great place to stay. I still love it, but not in terms of a job for a graduate engineer. So I started working with a educational institute teaching MBA and MCA students, and then it was time for my bundle of joy and also the time to move to Mumbai. So this both the things happened together. I took a maternity break, and then after two breaks, I had to restart my career in Mumbai. And this was the time when I really realized what happens when you are away from workforce for quite some time, and you have taken two breaks in just 4 years. You have stayed in 7 states in last so many or 6 states in last 4 5 years. No employer can trust you. So I really find it extremely challenging to go back, but I was determined. 100 plus applications, 13 plus interview rejections, and I was finally hired by FMCG company in Navi Mumbai. An excellent exposure. I had to set up their office here, also set up their HR department. So right from how do you get a registration in PF office to how do you hire a peon to how do you hire a general manager, which was next position to CEO. I did it all. I loved it, but the company got closed very soon, and I had to then again look out. So I went to another company which was into ITES and BFSI. Excellent exposure there as well. This company was in midst of transition, so I had to manage. When you are a promoter-driven company for 30 odd years and you are recently acquired by an MNC, the culture change, the transition that happens, and people don't know what's going on. So I got an opportunity to manage this M&A, post M&A thing, which is really amazing for an HR professional to learn. Where they did well there, and post that I moved to my current company. Again, an excellent place to work, and it was a startup just 4 years when I joined the company. So a lot of opportunities to learn and grow along with the company. So this is how my journey has been.
So around, you had a very different part starting. You have seen a closure, you have seen a transition, multiple things in the span of career. So what are the current responsibilities? What is it that you are managing today?
Yeah, so it's been around 7.5 years that I am here in the current organization. I started with HR, then I moved to take up admin as well, and now I am taking care of marketing as well. So it's HR, admin, and marketing that I'm currently taking care of, finalizing the HR strategy, connecting it to business goals, and having creating that excellent employee experience is what my responsibility.
Amazing. Now so I was only hoping to understand the HR challenges from you, but now I can expect all the three set of challenges to come from you. We are going through a transition, right? The life before 2020 and the life in 22 is very different. So what are the challenges that you are facing today and how you are addressing those?
Yeah, you rightly said the life has totally changed. Uh, New ways of working, a new term every second month. So came great resignation, then came quite quitting, then quite firing and whatnot. So a lot of changes are happening every single day, and it is difficult to manage employee expectations because everyone. So if I have to say how many rule books we need today, I would say we need one rule book for each employee. That would be the highest or epitome of employee experience. So since you need to customize everything for everyone, it is getting extremely difficult. So I would say this high-tech experience that we need to create for employees is one thing that is creating a challenge. Second, everyone is still having their own battles, and what works for one does not work for other. And in the process, how do you bring in or that balance where you are open to say that for one department, of open work from office would work, has to work, but for other department you can operate from anywhere. So this is what we used to not do earlier, having uniform policies. But today is the time when HR needs to think of finding solutions. You cannot stick to policies and say no, this would not work out. Then business would not work out because employees have a lot of avenues and they are the only differentiating factor that a business has. So there's a very strong business case for employees today, and that's where we are seeing that changes are taking place in organization in terms of ways of working. So I would say employee retention, the experience that we are giving them, the continuity, and that's where business HR is getting more and more involved in business and trying to understand the upskilling bit, because you need to be ready for future. The high tech experience that customers are getting, your employees are also expecting it, and you have to get driven by that. So I think these 3 4 things I would say are most challenging in today's times.
This also gives me some statistical bit. So we know that we are talking about the great resignation, but we are also talking about the fact that out of the million employees or million people who are ready to be employed, only about 5 or even certain cases about 10, maximum about 20, 15% are expected to be job ready, or they are said to be employable. Criteria could differ, but even if we talk about having doing the basic jobs, there appears to be a huge challenge in terms of how to get this workforce ready. So if somebody really wants to look at building a career, what are the things that they should be preparing for?
Yeah, that's a very pertinent question, and it does happen when we go for interviews. We realize that people are not ready, and we also realize that when they go for internship, because today everybody has an opportunity for internship. When I did my engineering, there was no internship opportunity, but today they have it there as well. MBA always had it. However, when it comes to learning, people are not taking those initiatives that they should do in terms of moving forward, telling us the world that I want to learn, give me something new to learn. Those kind of efforts I am seeing that they are really missing. And second thing that I'm seeing is they are okay to start something, but when it comes to taking things to end, that skill is also missing. So they will come with lot of energy. I would say this generation has 10 times or more than that energy than us. But when it comes to having that perspective that I have started this, I must give it a closure, that is not happening. So thousand things will open, and the ideas would be absolutely amazing, but idea is only as good as its execution, and that is not happening. So one thing I would say that they need to have this perspective that let me do only few things, but let me do it well. That is one behavioral change I would say, and maybe it's happening because it's a time for technology and it's a time for information overload. So they are spread across everywhere. It's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook, and that's why they think everywhere, everything they need to do. But that's not true. Have your niche. Think about it. What you really want to do. Second is self development is another bit which I would say is missing. Introspection and finding out what I like, what are my areas of improvement, strengths, and I need to connect with a mentor to understand how the pathing, career pathing can be for me. So self introspection and self development, investing on yourself in terms of time, money, energy is another thing that I would say. So these would be some of the things that these youngsters need to do in order to be job ready. Besides, when they are in campus, they need to be fully focused on what is being told. Not only that, also volunteer and learn a lot of new skills, because volunteering gives you n number of opportunities.
Yes, agree. Now, this brings to the next point. How did this happen?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this up. It's really amazing to see and hold your book in hand. So, this was in action for close to 10 months. And I started a group of women under Lead and Umbrella. It is called as Leaders Lifting Leaders. And the term is like all of us are leaders, is what we believe, because we lead ourselves at least, and our actions, through our actions we influence others, so we are all leaders. So we came together, four of us co-authors, never met in person, and total 11 authors, seven contributing authors. And we saw that through this circle, through these connections, we all empowered ourselves and each other. So we decided that let our learnings be out. And like my example, I have shared how why is networking important, what is networking, and how to do it. Because my own challenges were too many when I started networking. Like I shared about my humble background, and also the kind of traits that I had, hiding behind my mom when there was a guest at home. So I would hide behind from people also in a networking event. But then I realized that it is extremely important. I used to love connecting with people, but not to somebody who is unknown. So the extroversion piece was missing for me, and that was actually hindering my progress in multiple patterns. And that's where we decided that we have had it. Now let's share it with the world and let them know how they can improve on it. Because if we can do it, everybody can do it.
Great. Now, this piece, the networking bit, is missing at multiple levels. And unfortunately, in the industry, the networking per se is looked at from a very different perspective as well. While standardly there is always a network that builds up, but networking per se has a lot of reservations, different meanings associated to that. But now with the book and with people like you coming out and explaining this concept, so networking is getting back. I would like to share. I'd like to hear a few examples from you regarding how networking has helped you.
Yeah, I think networking helps in a lot of ways. And it's not that it is going to give you immediate results in any fashion. Like you and I, when we came together, I think it was 2021, first time when I reached out to you and I requested you to speak on the topic of CSR. And there was nothing, there was no give and take, right, at that point of time. And I heard you and I really liked, and that's how we have been keeping in touch. Not very frequently, but whatever, we exist, right?
Yes.
So sometimes we connect, and then finally we are now having this discussion also. So if we look from the perspective of what can I gain immediately from this connection, then we have defined all the rules of networking. I think networking works in three fashions. So one would be operational or functional, where I have a need, like it's like looking for a vendor. So this is where the operational piece helps. I'm looking for a vendor, I get confirmations. I'm looking for a reference for someone or a trainer or a vendor, whether they give good service or not, I get a reference. Internally it helps. If I want to bounce off the ideas, it helps. So both internal and external, the operational or functional piece of networking is helping this way. So this is how I'm leveraging it. Then comes the personal networking piece, and that's where you and I connect. I am connecting with so many people from different world. So it's not that I'm only having the thought process of HR, but I am getting that open-mindedness, and that is giving me a lot of new perspective. So when I the design thinking piece that we say, right? So every user experience is different, and more I connect with heterogeneous set of people at my personal network, I gain knowledge. If I want to bounce off an idea, say if it is in a particular area, say IT, I would come to you, for example. That is a personal way of connection, and that also helps. Now, personally, you can also look for, say, a coach or a trainer and for your own development. So this is how I'm leveraging personal network. And this book is also an outcome of personal network. So personal networking can make you an author. It has so much potential. And then comes the third and most important piece of it, which is strategic. Now, this strategic networking, you may not see any results at any point of time in, say, in the near term or near future, but it is what you are investing into for long-term results. So, say tomorrow, if I want to take up, say, marketing, if I had a plan that I would take up marketing and I'm already starting to connect with marketing professionals, that's a strategic leveraging. So I will already have that network with me when I enter the workforce, or when I enter that profession, and I would be so many people to guide me there. It would not be like I have no idea. And we all know when it comes to connecting with people and learning from their perspective, it is much easier than reading it or doing any other thing, research or anything else. And that's how you are also trying to support your viewers by sharing stories, because it is very easy to relate to them and learn from them. So if I develop that strategic network, it is going to take very, very long time. There will may not be any gives or takes at any point of time, say 2 3 years, 3 years. I have also seen sometimes 5 years. My networking journey is not decades old, so I'm just citing example of 5 to 7 years. But there will be one moment where that connection would be very, very useful. And there have been certain such useful connections in my personal and professional both cases. So this is how at operational level, at personal level, and at strategic level, I am leveraging networking. And like I said, it can make you an author.
Great. Now, few tips for people who are starting to build a network, how they should build it.
Yeah, so number one would be dispel all the myths. You are an introvert. I need to do networking only when I need somebody. Why should I waste time on networking? And the one that I had in my mind was somebody who's not working is networking. So remove all this myth first, because if your mindset is not right, you would not get the results. Second, don't think that it's a give and take relationship. It happens many a time that I am able to support someone at 7 times, 8 times, 10 times also, but I never get any support from them. But it does come around. It's a circle. It does come around from somewhere else. And when I need support, I do get people. So forget about it that I met with this person. I need to make them my prospective employer, or should get a reference for prospective employer, or for freelancers or coaches, I should get a business from there. So forget about these things. That is second thing. Third, start networking anywhere. You don't have to go to networking circles or conferences or spend money on that. You can network in Lyft. You can network when you go to sports day of your daughter. You can network when you take her to football academy and you are sitting with others. Start looking at those things from perspective of connecting with people, and stop looking at your mobile, because mobile stops us from creating those connections. So that is third thing. And fourth, I would say start small. Like I used to run away in networking events, and I would, if somebody finds me, I would just give the visiting card and still run away. But slowly, what I started doing, I would look for someone who's looking like me, as nervous as I was, and I will connect with him or her. At least one connection I created, and those bondings are very strong because they are based on some needs. Right? There is a need that I don't have anyone there. I have to be there for a few hours, and the other person is also having that need. From there, you may then look out for third person, fourth person, and it's not that you need to give your visiting card to everybody who's there. It's just that you need to develop some deep connections and leave your 30-second pitch to rest of it. So start small, look for opportunities everywhere. Go out of your comfort zone. Don't think nobody, I will not add value for anybody, because it also happens sometimes. I have seen, especially for women, those who are homemakers, they think what's networking, but they are extremely good at network. You need something, they will have 10 numbers in their phone, and they would be able to give you a solution for that thing. And they still think I have no network, but their network is very strong. Likewise, within the family, we miss to network. We rely on external world, but we have to start from the family. So these would be 5 6 tips that I would like to share from my personal experience, that if you have to start small.
Beautiful. On this amazing note of starting small and then building up and eventually becoming an example like what Gauri has become today, an author as she explains it, and also a great human being who has been helping many like her and many people like us build a network, understand the deeper part of how things really need to be done and how effectively they need to be done. Thank you so much, Gauri, for taking out time and joining us for this conversation. We wish you all the very best for this book. The link would be there in the description. And we look forward to reading more of your books. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charu. It was lovely connecting with you and having this conversation. I'm sure our viewers would get benefited by it.